Hello, hello, hello. It is Adrienne. I'm also known as Capricorntigress online, and I'm an astrologer, a numerologist, a life coach, an abundance and manifestation coach, a meditation coach, a healer. I do so much online, and it's fun. It keeps me busy in my retirement years, and I enjoy so much what I do. So I am here today to just have a discussion. It's been so long since I've come and talked about much, but I want to be honest with you. Let's really have a brainstorming discussion. Let's really talk, okay? First of all, I want to let you know I'm having some mild tooth irritation, so I may stop or pause. I forgot to schedule my dentist appointment today. I have to schedule a dentist appointment. Like it's so vital. And I just realized only 10 seconds has been recorded. So I don't know what I said in the beginning that did not get recorded, but something obviously did not get recorded. So let me just say this again. I am Adrienne, and I'm also known as Capricorntigress of astrologyalookinside.com, perceptiveguidance.com, adrianobhq.com, and getmearealjob.com. And I've been online for many, many years. I enjoy being online for the most part. It's been weird lately, I would say, over the last couple of years, but I still enjoy coming out and talking about things and discussing life and hopefully motivating people or giving them some solutions or words of inspiration and encouragement. So that's why I do what I do. So let's talk a little bit. I have to talk about the important things first because, I am an astrologer that talks about current affairs, current events. So, what are the current events? Well, you know what they are. I mean, unless you've been living under a rock, you most likely have heard or even seen some of the things that have been going on over the last few weeks. So let's start with this. Biden is no longer in the race to become our president. He's decided that he is going to retire after this term. And I respect that because he was being highly disrespected by, I believe, by mainstream media. What do I mean by that? Well, let's go back a few more weeks from that, which was the debate, that fateful debate where they all claimed that Biden was so horrible. He lost the debate. He was so horrific. And yeah, he was slow and he's old, but you know what Biden didn't do? He did not lie. He did not lie one time when he was standing up there, old or not. He had his faculties. He was talking sense. You know who did lie? The other guy. I don't like saying his name. I will eventually, but I don't like saying his name. But the other guy lied. He stood there for 90 minutes and he lied. Everything that he said was just smoke and mirrors. It's like the Wizard of Oz. You pull back the curtain, there was nothing there but this old fake guy. So, I don't know why he didn't get called out, but for some reason, I reported it. Like when I make my videos on TikTok or whatever, I try to call a spade a spade. It's not always popular, especially amongst MAGA, because they're addicted. They're a cult. So if you tell them the truth about their great Fuhrer, they get upset. They don't like that. But I have been posting things on TikTok. So if you want to go check, you can find me at Astrology, A Look Inside on TikTok, because we are on YouTube, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. I'm everywhere. Okay. So on TikTok, I had mentioned about how horrible this guy did, and I was upset that they were attacking President Biden, Joe Biden. Sadly, because of the ridiculousness of mainstream media buying into the horrible narrative that I still don't buy, even after all this time, that somehow Trump won this debate. He was, I guess, embarrassed, and he actually had COVID. A lot of people didn't know that day of the debate that President Biden had COVID. So, I mean, the fact that he even showed up with COVID and then the very next day doubled down, went out and did a great rally that was excellent. And the next day, I think he did another one that was excellent. But even so, the talk and the negativity about his debate performance was so bad that this man, who, in my opinion, is one of the best presidents we've had in some time, has decided to step down permanently from office. So he will not be running for 2025 or, this next term. Instead, we had a huge surprise, something we never imagined would happen. And that is, he endorsed his vice president, Kamala Harris, or Kamala, however you like to say it. I always say Kamala, like it's Pamela, but maybe it's Kamala, like Pamela. Either way, Kamala Harris was nominated by President Biden to be his replacement. And at first, when it came out, I was frustrated and angry because I am a big Joe supporter. I believed in blue. I'm a very blue, I guess you could say I'm a Democrat. I'm very blue. And so I was upset because at first I'm thinking, oh gosh, how are we going to recover this loss? No one really is expecting Kamala to run. And it's not good. It's only 100 and some days. We're never going to do this in time. Well, let me tell you something. In 1 week's time, Kamala Harris has secured this nomination. She's got enough votes for the nomination. She's about to pick her vice president. She went from being the underdog to now being, I think, +3, as much as +4, which means it could be as much as +8 in some states. I'm telling you, this woman is about to be our first actual female president. And I'm down for it. I am feeling this. Like, I'm so fired up over Kamala Harris right now, or Kamala. I'm so excited about what we're about to do because I believe this is the change that we needed. We needed something, anything, to stop the train wreck that is Trump from doing anything more. It was just horrific. But now, and plus he's just as old as Biden. Let's be honest. There's 3 years. They're both old as dirt. I mean, he's 78, for goodness sake. There's no going back, dude. You're only getting older, right? So the idea that, there's somehow by going to this other old guy, it's going to be better than the other old guy. I'm like, no, they're both old guys to begin with. So I am excited for Kamala because, first of all, I believe this is destiny. And I'm happy that we found someone who was there all along, waiting for their opportunity to shine and to put things into place that they believe in. And what does Kamala believe in? What does Kamala believe in? She believes in things like a woman's rights, something I believe in. I keep saying Rovember is coming. Rovember is coming. Men, I want you to understand, Rovember is coming. And I love the fact that she is a woman. And I believe if you are a woman and you believe in a woman's right to have a choice over her own body, over her own freedom to make her own decisions, right or wrong. I mean, we all face our God alone. I never understood the mindset or the whole concept of, oh, it's against God. Well, you don't even know. How do you know that a D&C, which is something that was affected by what they've done with Roe versus Wade, and something many women need to stay alive? I mean, what if you get a tubal? What if something happens? The fact that they took away the right for a woman to have just a simple D&C, that upsets me so badly, because some states, the right is already gone. These women are going to die for reasons that they don't have to die. There's a reason we're in 2024 and not in 1824, where the life expectancy for women was about 30. There's a reason that we have this technology and the science to do the things that we need to keep women alive. Not just women, everybody. Everybody is going into the scientific, technological future, except for women. You're going to set us back 200-300 years. Why? Why would you do that? It makes no sense, because we know better now. We know that it's not just about, end quote, abortion or getting rid of children. There are other things at play that keep a woman alive from our internal vaginal area. This includes our tubes, ovaries, the uterus. There could be tubals. There could be tumors. Fibroid tumors are high amongst women. The idea that they are preventing things like a D&C. Hold on. Wow, thank goodness I had some tea with me. I think I'm getting, okay. So let me be honest with you. I'm recovering. I'm a month out now, almost, about 3 weeks from COVID. And people forget COVID's still out there. COVID's still out there. Now, in my mind, I was completely healed from this COVID. And, I just realized I still have some pills left over. Thank goodness. I just realized I never finished all my pills. So I've got some medicine for coughing. Thank goodness. Maybe I'll just swallow one while I'm on here. So anyway, I'm recovering. Sorry, you guys. This is the second time in about 24 hours that I've been in a recording and had a coughing jag. So that's not a good sign, especially for someone who's getting over COVID. Hold on one second. Okay, I just took the pill for coughing because I had completely forgot about that. And yeah. So, the funny thing is, I don't know if I had the original COVID or what I had, but I had a COVID that lasted this is my 3rd month, because that pill was prescribed on the 9th of June, which means I had it in May, which means I've been fighting it since probably the last week in May. And that's COVID. It's not, in a week or 2 weeks, depending on how you get it. Anyway, I was in the middle of talking about, the situations, and I've kind of lost my track of thought. So we'll get back to wherever I was as we get back to it. One of the things I know I was talking about was Kamala and what has transpired up to now, which is that she's now our presidential nominee, or potential, or I'm sure she got it. I just saw on YouTube that she got all the votes she needed. Ooh. Because, you have to get that vote. Oh my gosh. Excuse me, you guys. I'm hoping I'm not having a relapse, which is why I mentioned COVID. I've already had a temporary setback, and I'm glad I still have medicine, but I don't want to have another so soon after, I don't want to have another. So I might actually cut this short if I go and have another coughing jack. I just want to warn you guys. It could just be the subject. It's such an uncomfortable subject. Anytime I have to talk about anything that has to do with that man, or really politics at all, in 2024, it's very frustrating. I think Kamala has added a breath of fresh air into politics because it had gotten to a point where I think we were all beginning to feel that it was useless. That I think there was a lot of depression. I actually saw people in a depression. And I think when she was announced as the new candidate, it just invigorated the world. We don't want, I'm going to say his name now, we don't want Donald Trump to be our president. I don't want Donald Trump to be my president. One of the slogans of Kamala's campaign is, "We're never going back." And let it be known, we're never going back. We don't want to go back to that. There was this false narrative, and this is the one thing I always talk about the false narratives because Trump is always on Twitter or X and Truth Social, constantly posting false narratives, lies, basically, projection and lies. And then his cult goes out and repeats them as though they're fact. Now, I'm going to share one of the current lies that his MAGA cult is sharing, and I'm going to shoot it down right now. And that is, in Chicago, this past week, Trump had the worst interview of his life. He was interviewed by the National Association of Black Journalists. And these women were professional. They were ready. I heard he was over an hour late. And then once it got started, they asked one question. And he started in with this tirade about it was the worst question or rudest, and it wasn't. It wasn't. It was just a very pointed question, and she wasn't coddling him. She was asking a direct question. And it was about racial issues. He immediately went into like this tirade where he was like attacking her and saying it was the worst, she was the worst, and ABC and all this stuff. And then he started going into this other tirade about Kamala Harris's identity, racial identity, and began uttering racial slurs, saying things like, "I've known her and she was always Indian," because they presented her as she is, which is Black and Indian. You're not going to just be Indian if you're Black and Indian. And why would you not suddenly be Black because you're also half Indian? Does he not know about mixed people? Does he not know about biracial people? Does he not understand that this woman has always been Black? How are you going to come on to a national platform like that where we're all going to eventually see it, especially Black people who we know Kamala Harris. We love her. Why? Because Kamala has been Black her whole life. She went to a HBCU. She's a sorority sister. We know exactly who she is. We then watched her step with her sisters when she was running for president 4 years ago. There's never been a doubt in my mind that that woman is Black and Indian. So the fact that this racist would come out there and he kept doubling down on it, though, it was so nasty. It was really one of the nastiest, most disgusting displays of racial bigotry I have seen from someone running for such a high position of power in our nation. This is someone I immediately can tell you is not qualified to be in any position of power. Not just because he's lost basically his business, because I just heard is not looking good for Trump in New York, but because we don't need that. We don't need that kind of negativity. We don't need more racial disturbance. We don't need someone who is this petty, who's got issues with women who ask him questions. This entire situation about attacking women in general bothers me, but attacking Black women in particular, that bothers me more than anything else ever. And it is not acceptable. And there is nothing worse as a person of color than seeing someone who is not of color telling someone who is of color that they're not of color. Don't you tell a Black person who is Black, living as a Black person their entire natural given life, that they're not Black. When you look at Kamala Harris when she was in high school and in college, because she got pictures, it's a lived experience. That child had a Jackson 5 afro. A Jackson 5 afro. You ain't getting a Jackson 5 afro unless you're Black in something. So there's something wrong. Also, he tried to say, when she was talking with more Blackness. When I get around Black people, I talk with more Blackness. When I'm doing professional things, I talk professional. When I get excited, the Blackness comes out. Guess what? Because I'm Black. I'm Black too. You might look at me and not see it if you don't want to see it. You might say, she's mixed or she's that. That's on you. It's not about what you think. I know what I am. I know I'm Black. And Kamala knows she's Black too. Her grandmother and father were darker than I am. This man, what he did was racial slurs and racial bigotry. It was disgusting. He's done other disgusting things, but this was particularly bad. Like, why would you go on to that? Why would you use that as any argument in your race for president? It was deplorable. It's a good word. I've said that. It was deplorable. Mary Trump came out and I just posted that on my TikTok, man. She went in. she went in for the kill on her uncle. He's embarrassed her family. There's some other things. I heard he did some other stuff that was horrible this week too. And I don't want to spend time on him. Let's spend time on the positive. What is the positive? The positive is Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris has energized this entire nation. I see a future when I see her, and I'm excited and I'm proud that that we could possibly have our very first Madam President. Because other nations have been choosing females for their presidents for years. It's time for us to catch up with the 21st century anyway. I'm so tired about, this whole campaign about making America great again, like it was ever great before. Like we are advanced now. We have technology now. It's like the $6 million man. We can rebuild them. We can make them stronger, faster. We do not have to go back to the 1800s. Why would we do that? When life expectancy was so low and things like racism were so horrific. We don't want that. That's not what we want. This man doesn't even have his hand on the pulse of what we want. There's something else I said on my profile, which was I brought up the fact that I feel like some people have short-term memory. They have conveniently, maybe because they're MAGA cult, they follow him and they want him to win, but they've conveniently forgotten how horrifically bad that presidency was. And I can't forget it because we were on food vouchers, there were rent vouchers, people were losing their homes, or they had, they had the voucher so that you couldn't get kicked out, but people were getting kicked out or threatened to be. We couldn't get eggs. There was no toilet paper, or eggs was like $10 a carton, right? And toilet paper, you couldn't find things like alcohol or bleach or anything. It was awful. And I live in Seattle, which was one of those cities that he detested. So we got no help, no assistance at all throughout his whole presidency. And the COVID here was so bad that on my street, I mean, at least a couple of times a week, that white, paddy wagon would come down my street to come pick up the dead bodies. There were people from my daughter's college that were literally disappeared in white vans from, and this was the kind of administration that was being run under him. I don't ever want to live like that again, where there were riots and fires and deaths and racism and just a really horrifically awful time when it felt like we were in a life or death situation every single day that we woke up. I thank President Biden for everything he did, because what he did was he brought back the equilibrium to this nation. And he remained in the middle and bipartisan almost the entire time. But he did things that got us back to normal, like ensured most people got their vaccination. I never understood the obsession with his followers, Trump's followers, about the anti-vax. I know we've always had anti-vaxxers, but I get pneumonia shots every year. I get my, what's the other one? Flu shots every year. When it's time to get your TB shots or whatever, I get those. Why wouldn't I get something that's going to prevent me from dying? I don't understand the pushback and how disgusting it was when it turned out that by getting these on a national level, we pretty much saved our nation. And because of that one reason alone, that was my first reason for never voting for Trump again. He let 1 million people die. Had he not told everyone, oh, it's nothing, just go out and, use bleach or whatever, maybe 1 million people wouldn't have died. He was giving a false narrative. Even now, his followers still are saying crazy things about Dr. Fauci, and the man saved everybody. If you're still alive, you're alive because of Biden and Fauci. That's reality check. Because there's 1 million people that ain't here. And I think people forget that. It's like, I don't know how or why there are so many with short-term memory loss. But it's definitely short-term memory loss. Because these things happen. And it wasn't that long ago. I mean, we're just 4 years in, barely, with Biden, like we're 3.5 or whatever. So the fact that they could forget, or the fact that the man tried to start a coup, that they tried to hang Mike Pence in effigy, like, how do you forget? I know I don't forget easy because I have a Taurus moon, but how do you forget? And sometimes it's stuff that is right there. Like, give you an example with the NABJ that I talked about earlier, the National Association for Black Journalists. I've been seeing this narrative on TikTok. Oh, well, he really kicked their butts. He really put her in her place. He really won that, man. He was on fire. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It was the worst interview of his career. He didn't put anyone in anyone's place. He didn't ruin anyone's career. He tanked his own career. They had nothing to lose. They're just journalists. He's the guy running for president. He's the one with something to lose. He's the one who lost, not them. He's the one that got outed with one question. He got outed as a racist bigot with one question. One. In my opinion, she won. They won. One question. And you got outed like that? He's over. He's a racist. He's a bigot. So if you want a racist bigot and that doesn't bother you, okay. But I don't want nobody like that for my president. I'm not voting anywhere near that direction at all. In fact, I'm going straight blue. If I see anything with Republican on it, I'm probably going to avoid it. Why? Because you put that guy in as your candidate, and I can't respect you right now. Maybe in 4 years, not now. It's going to take at least 4 years for me to forgive what you've done by putting in the worst potential candidate for president of all time. A felon, a rapist, a fraud, a liar, a con man, a bigot, a racist. This is not acceptable. And for people to act like it's normal, I mean, maybe he's normalized being a really horrific person, but this is not normal. And I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. He doesn't feel good. I go with what feels good. That guy doesn't feel good at all. I don't even like listening to him or watching him. It's definitely time for that old man to retire. But look, everybody has their own opinion. I'm going to tell you my opinion as an astrologer. I've said this before. Trump is a Gemini. We've got Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter in Gemini is in its detriment. It's in a bad place. Why? Because Jupiter resides in the opposite of Gemini in Sagittarius. So it's opposing its own home. It's not happy. And when it's there, especially for a Gemini, I believe it's too much of a good thing. What does Gemini rule? Talking and communication. That man needs to be quiet. The more he talks and communicates, the worse it's going to be for him. And because he cannot seem to stop lying, it's going to be horrifically bad by the time November gets here. Also, women, arise. Rovember is coming. I did say Rovember, not November, because we are all going to vote. Women, be counted, have your voices counted. This is not the year to sit home. This is the year to come and stand up as women for your right to be heard and to say, I'm just as important as anyone else. My life is just as important. My body is just as important. And my right to have my own decision is just as important as anyone else's. So this was my message. I mean, yeah, I really went into whatever the current affairs are. And maybe you won't like hearing this, but this is August 2nd, 2024. And these are the discussions that we're having on August 2nd of 2024. I will come back and talk about astrology and other discussions of importance in business and other things. But I wanted to at least document what's been going on in the political sphere in America since I've last been here. It's been a lot, huh? It's been a lot. Anyway, it's been Adrienne. I promise I'll be back. Much love, much light, many blessings. And remember, November is coming. Women, get out and vote. We can do this. Let's unite. Let's make a big change. Let's have our first female president. I can't wait to have our first Madam President. This is such an exciting time. Many blessings, everybody. Many blessings.